started with a whisper, just a faint, almost imperceptible sound like the rustle of leaves in the wind. But I knew it wasn't the wind. It was something else, something that didn't belong.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
It whispered, like someone's talking, but I can't make out the words.
You're imagining things. It's just the house settling. Old houses do that.
No, it's not the house. It's something else. Something alive.
She laughed, but it wasn't a comforting sound. It was the kind of laugh that says, "You're crazy, but I'll humor you." I didn't like it. I didn't like any of this.
You've been working too hard. You need to relax. Maybe take a break from all those late nights.
I'm not imagining it. I swear, I heard it. It's like someone's trying to tell me something.
The whisper came again, louder this time. It was closer too. I could feel it, like a cold breath on the back of my neck. I spun around, but there was nothing there. Just the empty room, the shadows stretching long and dark across the floor.
There, did you hear it that time?
I didn't hear anything. You're freaking me out. Stop it.
I'm not doing this to scare you. I'm serious. Something's wrong. Something's in this house.
She rolled her eyes and walked away, leaving me alone in the living room. The whisper came again, louder still. It was a voice now, clear and distinct, but the words were garbled, like they were being spoken underwater. I couldn't understand them, but I knew they were meant for me.
Who's there? What do you want?
The voice stopped. The room was silent, but the air felt heavy, like it was pressing down on me. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, my breath coming in short, shallow gasps. I wanted to run, to get out of there, but my feet felt rooted to the spot.
Please, just leave me alone.
The whisper returned, but this time it wasn't just one voice. It was many, overlapping, blending together into a cacophony of sound. I clapped my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The voices were inside my head, screaming, pleading, demanding.
Stop. Stop it. What do you want from me?
And then, as suddenly as it had started, the voices stopped. The room was silent again, but the air was still heavy, oppressive. I could feel something watching me, something just beyond the edge of my vision. I turned slowly, my heart pounding in my chest, and there it was.
Oh, God.
It was a shadow, but not like any shadow I'd ever seen before. It was too dark, too solid, and it moved on its own, shifting and writhing like a living thing. It had no face, no features, but I could feel its eyes on me, burning into my soul.
What are you?
The shadow didn't answer. It just stood there, watching me. Then it began to move. It flowed across the floor like a liquid, creeping closer and closer. I backed away, but it was faster, reaching out with tendrils of darkness that wrapped around my legs, pulling me down.
No, get off me, let me go.
I struggled, but it was no use. The shadow was too strong, too heavy. It dragged me across the floor towards the wall, and then it pulled me through. I felt the cold, damp stone against my skin, and then I was falling, tumbling through darkness, the voices screaming in my ears.
Where am I? What is this place?
I landed hard on a cold stone floor. The air was thick with the smell of decay, and the only light came from a single flickering bulb hanging from the ceiling. I was in a room, but it wasn't like any room I'd ever seen before. The walls were covered in strange symbols, carved deep into the stone, and the floor was littered with bones.
This can't be real. This has to be a dream.
But it wasn't a dream. I could feel the cold, hard floor beneath me, the damp air clinging to my skin. I could hear the voices again, whispering, chanting, growing louder and louder. And then I saw them.
Oh God, no.
They were shadows, like the one that had brought me here, but these were different. They had faces, twisted and grotesque, and they were moving, circling around me, their eyes glowing with a sickly green light.
What do you want? Why are you doing this?
The shadows didn't answer. They just kept circling, their whispers growing louder, more insistent. I could feel their breath on my skin, cold and damp, and I knew they were going to kill me. I could feel it in my bones, in the very air around me.
Please, just let me go. I don't belong here.
And then, just as I thought it was over, the shadows stopped. They froze in place, their glowing eyes fixed on something behind me. I turned, and there it was, the shadow that had brought me here. It was standing in the center of the room, its form shifting and writhing, and in its hand, it held a knife.
No, please.
The shadow raised the knife, and I knew what was coming. I closed my eyes, waiting for the pain, but it never came. Instead, I heard a voice, clear and cold, cutting through the whispers like a knife.
Step.
I opened my eyes, and there she was, my wife. She was standing in the doorway, her eyes wide with fear, but her voice was steady, commanding.
Let him go.
The shadow hesitated, the knife still raised, and then it lowered its arm. The other shadows began to retreat, melting back into the walls, their whispers fading into silence. The room was quiet again, the only sound the soft drip of water somewhere in the distance.
How did you find me?
I heard you screaming. I followed the sound, and then I saw the wall. It was like it opened up and you were gone. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I had to find you.
You saved me.
I don't know what's happening, but we need to get out of here, now.
She grabbed my hand and pulled me to my feet. The shadow was still there, watching us. But it didn't move. It just stood there, its form shifting and writhing as we backed away towards the door.
What is it?
I don't know, but we can't stay here. We have to go.
We turned and ran, the shadow's eyes burning into our backs as we fled. The hallway was long and dark, the walls lined with more of those strange symbols. But we didn't stop. We ran until we reached the end, until we found the door, and then we burst through it into the cold night air.
We're out, we're safe.
No, we're not safe. Not yet.
She was right. The shadow was still there, watching us from the doorway, its form shifting and writhing in the darkness. It didn't follow us, but I knew it wasn't over. It would never be over.
What do we do now?
We leave. We get as far away from this place as we can, and we never come back.
And that's what we did. We left that night, and we never looked back. But even now, years later, I can still feel it. The shadow, it's still there, watching, waiting. And I know, one day, it will come for me again.
No one believes me. They think I'm crazy, that I made it all up. But I know the truth. The shadow is real, and it's coming.
The whisper came again, faint but unmistakable. It was closer now, just outside the door. I could feel it, the cold breath on the back of my neck, the weight of its eyes on me. It was here.
Please, just leave me alone.
But it didn't. The door creaked open, and the shadow stepped inside, its form shifting and writhing, the knife gleaming in its hand. I closed my eyes, waiting for the end, but it never came. Instead, I heard the whisper clear and cold, cutting through the silence like a knife.
I told you, you're not safe.
I opened my eyes, and there she was, my wife. But it wasn't her, not really. Her eyes were glowing with that same sickly green light, and her voice, it wasn't hers. It was the shadows.
No, this can't be happening.
You should have listened. You should have run.
And then the knife came down, and the world went dark. The last thing I heard was the whisper, faint but unmistakable, echoing in the darkness.
No one believes you, but I do.